not much action in these markets one way or the other. We've got former Home Depot co-founder Bernie Marcus with us right now. Bernie, you talk about the tone and things changing, and you know, hope always springs eternal on this sort of stuff. But I mean, after the event, that camaraderie seems to die down. What do you think happens from here?
Unfortunately, I'm a little more cynical than most people. I would hope that they would begin to understand that what is happening, what happened today, which is obviously a terrible tragedy, they ought to get a message that some of the vicious rhetoric that's been going on between both parties, and I blame them both. I blame the president, and I blame the Democrats, and I blame the viciousness of the media as well. That's accomplishing nothing. And you know, and I just heard some of the comments that you had, and on health care, for instance. If I could get Schumer in a room and sit down with him and say, Senator, I don't get you. You keep talking about how terrible the House version of the Obamacare thing is, and how bad it's going to be in the Senate. Why won't you join in trying to make a better bill? I mean, don't you think if they pass something that's going to be bad for your constituencies, that's bad? Where's the common sense, Senator Schumer, in not wanting to, in staying out of the policy completely? I mean, this is, if you go back in history, and you've always had a divide between Republicans and Democrats, but somewhere along the line they would join and work on solutions together. The rhetoric now is so vicious that I don't know that they can just do it out of principle, that you're crossing the aisle. I think they'll be attacked for doing it, and I think that the media has a lot to do with this. And I think that both sides, I wish that the president would sit down with the leadership of the Democratic Party and say, guys, let's cut it out. Let's get together and let's start working together and accomplish what has to be accomplished. We have a great country. We have a wonderful future. There are things that have to be done. We need to create jobs. We need to have a safe environment. We have to make sure that people feel safe going out of their homes. But we need to have jobs for people in America. We have to take care of the infrastructure, all those things he's talking about. Why aren't you joining in? Let's shake hands on it and say, let's start out tomorrow and do things differently. Let's try to do what's good for America and stop thinking about parties. I wish that could happen, Neil. I just, if I were the president, I would do that today, by the way.
Yeah, hope springs eternal, like you say, Bernie, but I'm wondering the atmosphere we live in and the environment in which this incident happened. Night and day to say that people then take it to the next level to start shooting at U.S. congressmen. But, I mean, I'm reminded of this Kathy Griffin thing where she, for art purposes, comedy purposes, has Trump's head, you know, in her hand, or a CNN host calling the president a piece of you-know-what, or this Manhattan-based Shakespeare theater that purports to show Donald Trump in a Shakespearean role in which he's killed, and people have a good laugh over it. Is the environment such now that it breeds this type of dismissive, perfectly okay with the most horrendous thinking? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's, I mean, every time you turn the dial, every time, just tune into late night comic routines, you know, after 11:30 at night, and you hear these routines that go on. They're not funny. They're vicious. You know, laughing at things that are really harmful to people is maybe a new type of comedy in the United States. But it's all part of this vicious cycle that's being fed by the politicians, which is being fed by the media. And unfortunately, you have sick human beings like this guy with a gun today. That gets to him. You say, well, this is only comedy. It's not me. To him, it was serious. To him, it was, I have to do something about it, and I'm going to kill somebody to prove my point. Let me tell you something. I am so worried about the life of the President of the United States, Paul Ryan. I'm worried about the head of the Senate. I think all the politicians in Washington have to be very concerned, and I think that the American people should understand they got to stop this nonsense. And if they don't stop it, and the people that support it, by the way, and there are people out there that are supporting a lot of organizations who talk about violence. And there are many entrepreneurs and philanthropists that are supporting these things. I think they better sit down and understand if you're going to support it, you're going to reap the benefits of it, and they won't be benefits. They're going to be detrimental to everybody in this country. This is a great, wonderful country. I've lived here 88 years, and I'm telling you, there's no place in the world like it. There's no country that comes close to it. Why would you want to dramatically change it? It just doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense. So I hope that somebody out there has a brain in their head. Unfortunately, many people in the media world, especially because they are the ones that keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, I think they're more interested in the amount of money they make on the headlines than they are in what's good for this country. And I think they ought to start thinking about that. Certainly the advertisers and the people that fund money and push money into these things ought to have some kind of control over it. I just think it's a sad day. It takes a great deal of reflection on everybody's part, and I hope that from both parties they're beginning to reflect on how dangerous this is to our way of life, and it cannot continue this way. If they continue to dramatically say that president is not an elected official, doesn't belong there, there are going to be other nuts like this Hutchinson that's going to be out there. There are plenty of nuts out there. And you feed these people, and before you know it, they're going to do something dangerous. So I think you ought to cut it out now.
Well put. Bernie Marcus, the Home Depot co-founder, on today's tragic developments and what, if anything, we can learn from them.